Welcome to Nintendo Dads, episode 523, recorded on April 10th, 2025. On this week's episode, we talk about your questions around the Switch 2 Direct and news, how we feel since last week's Direct, has anything changed, and how much is Justin going to rub in about winner chicken dinner. All that and more. Jesse, you know what to do.
What's up, all my people? It's episode 523. It is April 10th, and joining me on the show tonight are our usual cast of characters, all recovering from the wave of Switch 2 highs and lows, and then a little bit of highs and then more lows that have gone on over the last week. It's been a roller coaster ride, has it not? And we're going to talk about all of that and a lot more on the show tonight. But first I want to send it over to Jesse Waldack. How you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good. I'm still kind of recovering from the whole work conference thing last week. I had a few good moments, but for the most part, I kind of wish I just stayed home. But so I don't know if I'll do that again.
Yeah. All right.
I was just too overwhelmed. Too many people. Too much noise.
Peopling be hard. It's almost
Yes.
up there with adulting these days. Speaking of adulting, Timothy Off, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. I've actually, even though I've been busy with work stuff, have been thinking too much about the Switch 2. So
Yeah,
I can't wait to
same.
get it out of my head and talk to you guys about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been thinking and refreshing websites way too much this week.
Right.
And last but not least, our very own chicken jockey, Justin Masson. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing great, man. I have been bundled up for like 8 days, not being able to tell you how I thought about the Nintendo Direct. Obviously, watching it live with both of you gentlemen, Marty and Tim, on the day. It was amazing. We had such great conversations. There was highs, there was lows, and then everything fell out afterwards. Tons of conversations, let's plays, first looks, all that kind of stuff. Man, I am excited to jump in this conversation. You guys had a great conversation last week with the gaming dad. Like, man, I am ready for this. And might I remind you, Tim, Jesse, in 4 weeks, what are we going to be doing? Touching me, touching you, sweet Caroline. Bum, bum, bum. PAX East
Yes.
2025. We're going to be there 4 weeks from now, and we're going to do a live show. Live show from where? Maybe our hotel Wi-Fi. I don't know, but it's going to be fun.
We're going to
Maybe
figure
the
it
side
out.
of the road. Who knows? Just standing out there outside the convention center. Yeah. So, Justin, what you narrowly avoided saying was that you're pin up.
I am. Yeah.
Coming
Yep,
in the show this week,
100%.
pin up. And so look, before he loses it, before he lets go, let's head to the news, shall we? And our news is brought to us each and every week by you guys over at patreon.com/Nintendo Dads, where for as little as $1 a month, and I'm going to put a little asterisk by that because we're going to come back to that, but for as little as $1 a month, you can join the greatest community of all time. It's not just not just now, it's ever. The greatest community of all time. $5 gets you the full slate of sub channels in the Discord. $10 gets you pre and post show audio. $30 gets you on the show as Patreon producers. And Patreon producers, you need to be watching your inbox because it's just about time for you to come back on. And we are excited to have you back to talk Switch 2 and all things Nintendo. We want to thank Tim for heading over to patreon.com/Nintendo Dads this week and making a few changes, doing a little housekeeping. He's added a couple of things. Number one, right now, if you are not a member of our Patreon, of being friends of the show, then you can head over right now and enjoy a discount for first-time patrons. Yeah, it can't be like you can't have been a patron and then gone away for a little bit and then re-up, if this is your first time to join us, if you're making a first time decision, then you get a discount. It's going to be great. Also, there's some little other stuff over there. If you don't know, we do a weekly update where we talk about all our YouTube videos for the week, the news that may or may not be on the show, who's going to be on the show, as well as important releases from that week provided to us by GameInformer.com, which is newly back from the grave. And those weekly update posts are public for
The zombie
each and
magazine?
every person that wants to go see. So you can not only read those weekly updates, but you can comment on them and have your comment featured on the show. Yeah. So zombie magazines. And to tell you who's not zombies, Christopher Waring, Poncho Chief, and Michael Moore, brand new patrons over at patreon.com/Nintendo Dads. And we have some exclusive news about a giveaway that we're going to be doing for all patrons in the month of May. Justin, why don't you tell them about that?
You know what? Hey, awesome. So here's what we're going to do very simply. Folks, we're excited for Nintendo Switch 2. Obviously, you're probably excited about Nintendo Switch 2. Obviously, it's probably why you're here. You love community, probably why you're part of our community. So we thought, let's smash those two ideas together. And what can we do? Well, here's what we're simply going to do. Every single Thursday in the month of May, if you're a member of our Patreon community, you're going to get entered in to win Super Mario Kart World. That's right. We love playing video games with our community, and we want to make sure our community has the video game. So that's simply it. If you are a member of Patreon, by the time that we do the draw, you're entered to win, quite simply. So there are 5 Thursdays in the month of May. We're giving away 5 copies of it. That means before June 5th, before you get your Nintendo Switch 2, you'll know if you're a winner of Mario Kart World for the Nintendo Switch 2. That's it. Quite simply, every single Thursday, starting in May, we give away 1 copy live on the show. All you got to do is be a member of Patreon. We're going to roll it from there. By the way, if you won once, you can't win twice, right? So if you won on, we're 5 different
You can't
winners.
win all 5 copies.
Yeah, 100%. All right. That's
I
it.
thought
So
at
we're
first we
excited.
had. I thought at first we had a special edition Nintendo gave us, not just a Mario Kart World, but a Super Mario Kart World.
Did I call it Super Mario Kart World?
Yeah, you did. You did.
Here's the
And
thing.
I'll just
So
say
I
in the
saw-
pre-show,
Yeah.
he was going to give away copies of Super
Listen,
Mario World.
Here's the deal,
And
folks.
we
I
had
have
to-
been
we had to do
trained
that.
for nearly 10 years to only know it as Mario Kart 8. So this is like a new language that we're learning. My tongue is having
Justin,
to
here we go.
restructure
Here we
around
go.
it.
Say it with me. Mario Kart
Mario Kart
World.
8. What the heck?
World.
Still stuck. Deluxe?
Mario Kart
Mario Kart?
World.
Double Dash. God dang it.
Mario Kart?
Super Mario Kart, guys.
No, that's the
Still
very
bad.
first one. Mario
Mm.
Kart.
Mario Kart. Mario
World.
Kart 64. God, again.
Just try it all together.
We'll work
Maybe you'll
on
get
it.
it this time. Mario Kart.
Mario Kart
World.
World.
Nope, there
Mario
it
Kart
is.
World. Mario
There it
Kart
is.
World. We're giving
He
away
got
5
it.
copies. May be a patron member and you're entered.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So all you have to do, patreon.com/Nintendo Dads, even if it's just at $1 a month level, or even a new patron at a discount level, you get entered to win. And you don't have to complain about the price of Mario Kart World, as many people have done this week. And that's a good segue into our news. Guys, last week, Nintendo Switch 2, we had the Direct, had the huge blowout. We were going to do the episode Wednesday night. That did not work out for us for all kinds of various reasons. Jesse with travel delays, me with tornadic storms. Justin was gone. So we moved to Thursday night as normal.
Those tornadic storms in your area were the reason for my travel delays.
Exactly. We were messing everything up.
Trying
And
to
so
get to
Thursday
Florida
night
from west of Florida.
yeah, absolutely not a good trip. So we got the episode recorded. We gave you our impressions of Nintendo Switch, and we're going to very quickly do 2 things. We're going to give Justin his chance to kind of give us some of his impressions here, and then we're going to segue from there into what I think is the biggest story this week, and that is tariffs affecting the price and pre-order date of Nintendo Switch. And we're going to allow our resident business guru, Mr. Business Justin Masson. That is his official name. Business Justin Masson. He's going to come in, he's going to swap out with Justin, and
Yep.
he's going to give us all of the scoops and all of the news. Actually, probably just make us feel worse about this because when I asked him about it pre-show, he just laughed evilly. And so, Justin, let's start with the good. All right. Since you didn't get to be on the show, what your impressions of Nintendo? Like, it's sat with you for a week, and you can do this, and then we'll talk about it too a little bit. So the direct has had a week to sit with us.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? What are you thinking? What stuck out to you? Are you excited? Blah blah blah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, your honors, for giving me the floor today. I appreciate that. First and foremost, I need to shout out Mr. Sean Capri, who's in our chat, who says, a blowout just like my new baby. Congratulations on having a new baby that has blown out their diaper, Sean. You are truly arms and fingers, elbows deep in the new parenting of a baby. So congratulations, Sean Capri. Thank you for being here, buddy.
I don't miss that.
Yeah, no, that's not his first kid either. So good luck, Sean. Good luck. Decisions were made. Should have been snipped. All right. So let's move forward then. Sat with me for a week now. So here's let's get some top level things. I do not like the price because I don't want to pay more money because I like having some, but I understand why it's that price. And so I'll start with that. And so before you all start getting mad at me, you're like, in Canada, which is where I reside, this is costing, without the actual pack-in, $629.99. So for all of you that are getting upset that it's $550, money is still money. That's still expensive either side of the border. All right. So
we got to figure it out pre-show, and you take the US price and multiply it by 1.4, and that's the Canada price.
Yeah, pretty comparable. All right. So
almost,
here's the thing though.
Increase.
Here's what I would say. We are almost doing one of two things, which is 4K, HDR, larger screens, bigger storage, better screen. It's playing amazing third-party games like Final Fantasy VII and Cyberpunk. Oh, and Elden Ring. These are the things that we've always wanted. Oh, it's going to cost more? No, really? I'm shocked. So Nintendo is damned if they do and they're damned if they don't, right? They're offering, if they came out and no third party was able to actually play on this because it's out of date old hardware and old tech and wasn't drawing in third party support, we'd all be angry. Or by the way, Hogwarts comes over or Mortal Kombat comes over, plays like garbage. This is all out of date. We are finally getting a system that does the things that we really want it to, but we're upset by the price of it. What did you expect? Those things had to come together, right? That's the reality of it. And the other reality of it is y'all were so set with $399. Haha, $50 more. It's not unreasonable. All right? It's not unreasonable. Now, I'm not letting Nintendo off the hook. Nintendo, look at me. Look at me. You know that a $10 pack-in game that I have to pay for? What the hell, dude? Are you kidding me? That's a manual. Ridiculous. But here's what's going to happen. Nintendo is going to say, we've heard all the cries about the price. We're so sorry. Here's a $10 game for free that they're somehow going to give you and pack it in. All right?
No, dude, they're still going to charge you for that.
Probably still going to, but it'd be nice if they did. Are you kidding me, Nintendo? It's a pack-in game, $10 that's giving me a tutorial of your system? Seriously. That is a huge miss. What are you doing with your life? All right? Next thing I think about. I really like the fact that I have Joy-Cons and Pro controllers that are backwards compatible and will work with the device.
Yep.
Woot, woot, woot. I don't actually need to go out and buy a new controller. Does the new controller look good? Yes. Will I want it? Yes. Do I need to buy it? No, I don't need to, but that's a choice. Okay? All right. What else we got for questions?
I will say, as you're thinking about that, the first Power A controller that comes out at a lower price with a C button on it is going to
Yeah,
sell like gangbusters.
100%. Like, also, by the way, all Power A right now, their controllers have the back buttons on them, right? The
Yep.
only thing it's missing is that C button. That's it. So that'll hold
Which is a
true.
button I'll probably never use
Yeah. Let's
because I have no
let's
friends. We've been over
oh,
this.
Jesse, we
Yes. We will
Jesse,
use it.
we will.
No, what
You
he
have got
meant to say
five
was
friends in the community that are going to
he's
have
got
copies of
friends,
Mario
but he doesn't
Kart
have
World
friends
that
to
you can
play
play with.
games with.
Yeah. We love you, Jesse, and you're our friend.
We do.
We do. That sounds so disingenuous, but Jesse, seriously, you have friends. And I've lost my
Thank you.
train of thought now. You're welcome. Okay, let's talk about the price of games. Okay. The price of games. Here's the unfortunate part is that Nintendo is the one who is the first to take the punch across, like the shot across the bow on this. All right. If this came from Xbox, if this came from PlayStation, Nintendo just kind of followed suit, we wouldn't be given as much grief. They took the first shot. But actually, here's the reality of it, guys. They took the shot about a year ago. Actually, they took the shot 2 years ago. When did they take that shot? They took the shot when they raised the price of Tears of the Kingdom. And they said there, and Doug Bowser said in his interview with CNBC, we believe in a value scale that slides. We believe in a
Yeah.
value scale that slides, basically.
And
So,
I've said
not,
this before, in that they've done this type of pricing in Japan since forever.
yeah, 100%.
They're all of their games are never the same price. Like
Yeah.
you can pick three $60 games, and it could be 6,000 yen, 7,000 yen, 8,500 yen.
Yeah. So here's the reality of it. And everyone's really upset about Super Mario World. Dang it. Nope. Nope. Mario
Nope.
Kart World. Mario Kart World. Mario Kart World. I'm gonna tattoo that somewhere in my body. Mario Kart World. Also, maybe that's a new Patreon goal. Um, Mario Kart World. And this is I've heard this conversation online. That's a ridiculous price, $90. It is higher than what we are traditionally paying, 100%. Do I want to pay more money? No, I don't. No one does. I'd prefer not. But here's the way that I look at it. I know that over the 8 years of Mario Kart 8, my family and friends have got in more than 100 hours of fun,
Hmm.
entertainment, and excitement out of that game. What I am seeing from Mario Kart, I am struggling. Mario Kart World is that their model seems similar. I anticipate that I will get
That's what happens when
hundreds
the
of
previous game has been
hours,
around for 10 years.
hundreds of hours of fun out of that. So when I do, and this sounds dumb, when I do a cost analysis of hours versus cost, it justifies it. And I also believe, in my opinion, now we are all at our own different financials in regards to your banks and what you believe or cost and all of that. I also believe that the fact that there's a direct next week is a pretty good indicator they have more to tell us and show
I,
us
I
for our
was going to
games.
And
say this,
Bill
that
Trinen
I
has said as
think,
much.
I really think that the pricing versus what we saw is kind of like this is where they always stumble, or
Mm,
they stumble a lot, is that they don't know when to reveal things. And now, I will argue that it's not, that the direct was not the time to reveal Mario Kart World carte blanche, like tell everything, because then it would have, would have dominated, and there would have been people who have been like, "Oh, I can't believe they showed so much about Mario Kart,"
yeah.
blah blah blah. Okay, so here's the deal. There is, if it's just Grand Prix and knockout race, and that's it in an interconnected world, and there's nothing else, then sure, we can argue with $80, right? But there's more to it. They've even specifically during the treehouse, they were driving around things so
Yeah.
as not to expose them.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would say is that it's this Nintendo thing that they always have of they reveal the wrong things about the game and make people go, oh, well, I don't really know if I like that when there's really amazingness under the hood,
Yeah.
pun not intended. But in this case, it was that they didn't reveal enough in that time to justify for a lot of people an $80 price. Do I think that
Yeah.
the direct will do a good job at helping with that? For
I
a
think
lot of
I
people, yes.
I
But
think that's such an interesting statement to be able to look at a game clip of 60 seconds to 90 seconds and say that value is worth $80 to me or not. I think that is such a litigious comment that we end up or statement that we end up getting ourselves into,
are you
right?
saying I'm wrong or are you saying people are wrong?
People in general are wrong, right? Of like I see this and all of a sudden now I equate that to value. None of us have actually got our hands on it.
It's the
None of
same
us
way. It's the same way that people treated Metroid Dread when it came out. They just don't want to talk about that because
100%.
we saw Metroid Dread, which we know had a very niche audience on the Switch, about 3 million, right? Which is the highest selling Metroid game of all time. How many people were online going, "That's not a $60 game. It's not
Right.
a $60 game." Well, can I just be honest? Like that game was for me, and for me, it was a $60 game.
It's
I I
exactly it.
I enjoyed every minute of
Yep.
it, and I felt like the price was justified for what we got. There's going to
The
be a lot of people who are walking back statements about Mario Kart World,
Oh,
and
nobody walks back a statement online, Marty. Like let's just stop that right there. Nobody walks back a statement online. Nobody I've never seen the internet someone on the internet be like, "You know what?
well, they should.
I was actually wrong about that. I was definitely illogical and definitely irrational and I'm sorry I called you all these names." I've never seen that in a comment. Let me tell you
Yeah,
that right now.
yeah.
But I do think like this is the challenge and like people are like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe we have to pay more money for games." Do you sort of know the current state of the industry right now? Right, like by the way, we want to ensure that the industry survives. We want to ensure that creators are getting paid. We want to ensure that there
Mm.
is an industry indeed, and unfortunately that costs money, right? That does actually, like, there has to be time, money, all those things put into it to survive. And so if we indeed do want future games from Nintendo or third party developers or indie developers, you ultimately have to pay a price. And listen, if that price is too much for you, that's fine. That's your choice. That's your decision. But like to also like poop on other people who are making that decision, back off. Right? And for us as consumers to be like take a small snippet, not even having hands on these things and say like, no, the price of something is in the eye of the individual, not in relation to what we believe on the internet it is worth. And I think that's the problem. We have to realize that 2017 versus 2025 things cost more. That's the way the world works. It's not going to
Yeah.
get cheaper. Guess
Inflation
what?
itself in that time frame was almost 100%.
Your Switch 3 is going to cost more than this. And we're all going to laugh at how much 450 USD was when in 8 years from now, you're going to have to pay 600 USD for the Switch 3. And by the way, your games are going to be $100 at that point because that's how the economy works. That's how money works. That's how capitalism works. If you don't like it, don't buy it. Quite simply. However, in 90 days from now, when we're all playing it, this conversation no one's going to care about because we're all going to be happy and content that we have it.
The
That's the
problem
way it
that the
works.
conversation is going to shift.
The FOMO.
The conversation is going to shift to, is it worth what we paid for it?
But again, is it worth like the statement is it worth is different to every
I
single
understand. I understand.
person.
I'm just telling you what I see, what's on the horizon. It's going to
I
be
will
the
100 like
next thing to argue about about Mario Kart World.
yeah, like this is the thing that always blows my mind when someone's like, is it worth how like Marty, how much did you spend to go see a movie recently?
$5 tickets.
Okay, so a little bit cheaper,
So,
right?
so,
But like,
so yeah, like those that we only go to movies on
okay,
Tuesday because it's $5 Tuesday at
yeah,
our at this theater.
I
And
take
so generally, if we went, like if I did go see the Minecraft movie this week, if I'd gone on the weekend, it would have been somewhere in the neighborhood of $11 a ticket,
yeah, I have a family of four. If we go to the
right?
movies, not on cheap movie night, right, on a Saturday to go see whatever it is, we get popcorn, pop. It's going to cost us $100 for 90 minutes to 2 hours of entertainment.
Right?
Mario Kart World got it right this time.
Yay!
It's the same price, and I will have hundreds of hours. So is the value there for
That
me?
you can play or watch at any time you want to.
Correct. For me, that value I understand. I'll get off my soapbox around that. I also think it's interesting the fact that Nintendo then priced Donkey Kong Bonanza $10 cheaper. Again, they showed us they were doing this 2 years ago, and they did it with Tears of the Kingdom. We believe certain games are worth more. We are going to charge more. They are a premium game. It is Nintendo's job to sort of really set that price. It's ours as consumers to decide. If you don't like it, don't buy it. Quite simple.
So can I make an argument here that I
Yeah.
don't think I've seen anybody else talk about?
Yeah.
And it's this is that and Jesse kind of alluded to this earlier in a comment that he made. And I don't want people to suppose anything ideological about this. I just want to state what I think is we're seeing is that Nintendo is firmly more than it has been in a long time is now being firmly controlled by its parent Japanese arm. And what I mean by that is that that has allowed things like fluctuating game prices to come here where it did not in the past, where we had people like Reggie and we had people like Howard Lincoln who were presidents of Nintendo at that time and said, no, we're not going to do that. No, we're going to pack Wii Sports in, or we're going to do it this way. We have to brand it this way. It has to be done this way. And what I'm saying by that is, I don't think that that is a reflection on Nintendo as bad, evil, mean. That's just how they do business. That's the Japanese way of doing business. But what we don't have is we don't have that figure in North America like Reggie and like Howard who will stick their neck out on the line and say, no, we're not going to do that. Like talking about the packing game issue, like the welcome tour.
Yeah.
I don't think that Doug Bowser, we haven't really seen him be a very forceful leader.
Yeah.
Or a very vocal leader yet. Now that may change. Now, some of this, honestly, adversity causes strength to rise, right? Adversity pushes good things to the surface. So we may see him step up and say, well, no, we're not going to, we can only bend this much on this, or we need to go back and rethink this. It'll be interesting to see. Especially, I mean, Justin, you posted something on our X earlier today about you said go watch the CNBC interview with Doug Bowser. I haven't gotten to do that yet, but I think he's been more visible with the launch of the Switch 2 and incoming than he has been in a long time. But I guess what I'm saying is I just think that we don't see that driving American mentality, I guess you might say, or North American mentality that says, no, our consumers understand it this way. It seems like what Nintendo of America is doing more is kind of like deferring to Nintendo Japan and saying, we're going to do this the way you're doing it. We're going to introduce that here. Now, whether that comes back and bites them or not, actually, we're going to do that in all regions because it seems like it's happening in all regions. It's not just North America. But just my observation. I'm not. It's my 2 cents, which is about how much it's worth.
Yeah, I think a couple of things that like sat with me upon like percolating on this. This presentation was very apparent that this is sort of this is the grown up version. This is the big boy version. This is designed. I think we lose some of those like fun colors that we typically saw with the original. It has transitioned, I think, away from like the toy look to being a much more sleeker competition with something like the Steam Deck, right? I think it shows a level of maturity, which I think is also what they're looking for their audience as well, which I think is one of the reasons that we see the price point. It's also one of the very first times in a very long time that Nintendo has actually seemed to care a damn about tech in regards to, let's talk about HDR. Let's talk about, 4K support. Let's really give you some more under the hood than what we typically do. And I think that also indicates a transition to sort of a different consumer base. And I think that we see that very much parallel with our third party games that are highlighted there. We've got Elden Ring, we've got Final Fantasy VII, we have got Cyberpunk. We have got the Duskblood, right? These are very mature rated games. And that was a very strong showing for them in their direct. And I think that shows a couple things. We are looking at a little bit of a different audience. We understand this is more of a premium product. And we have the third party games that kind of suit more of a mature audience as well. And so I think that was actually something that very much stuck with me after. Now we've definitely got other games for sure, right? I also think the fact that we've drawn in FIFA and Madden, very interesting from the EA perspective as well. Again, going to that, I think, a little bit more of a mature audience that are looking for very specific things that may have a higher disposable income base as well. So I think those are a couple things that really stood out for me in regards to it as well.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about this pre-show, and I almost continued the thought. I'm like, oh, just wait until we're recording. But I was going to say that Nintendo has had a precedence for things like this before. Like, the 3DS really wasn't designed to be a kid's system. That happened when Pokemon came out. They released the 2DS. Same with the Switch. The original Switch was not really designed to be the kid's system until Pokemon came out when they released the Switch Lite. So I think when we see whatever Pokemon game come out for this new system is when they'll have some sort of kid version that is a little bit cheaper, a little bit maybe more structurally sound.
And I think Doug Bowser said that as well. This wasn't from the CNBC statement, but the other statement of like someone asked me, so like it's a lot of money and not all your consumers can afford it. And the statement was, we recognize that, which is why we still offer and support the Nintendo Switch One. They are looking at this, I think, very similar to a sliding scale, right? In regards to the sliding scale of Switch. Switch Lite for, Switch OG or OLED into Switch 2. That's the scale they're looking at it there. So they're understanding they have consumers across all of those bases. So they're going to really effectively still support the OG one until eventually they're going to get to a point a couple of years from now where they say we no longer can support it. Our games are, we're going to slowly transition people off. So I think like that it's just being looked at differently. And the understanding that they are still supporting the OG Switch. Pokemon ZA is still coming out on the OG Switch. Same with Metroid. Same with Tamagotchi Life. Like Hades 2 is confirmed for both platforms, right? Like there's very few exclusives that are having to force you to drive you there. And so I think that's a really interesting statement for them and a really interesting place that I just sort of like, as I sat more and more about it, thought, yeah, I think it's a different audience that they're actually really trying to garner here and they're trying to move forward. Maybe those who started with the Nintendo Switch when they were 15, have grown up, 8 years later and are now closer down to, mid 20s or early 20s where there may be some more disposable income as well. So
I also think that GameCube was a big factor in that too, because of a lot of kids who grew up with that. My oldest being one of them, is now in that age range where they probably have a little bit more considered have that more disposable income. And that would then cater to the audience with this version of the Switch 2.
Do you think that this is a sign that the original Switch will stick around for longer than maybe it was intended to?
Well, I think I said before that I predicted a Switch will still be around until 2027.
Yeah, so do I. 100%. Yeah, listen, they've already looked into 2026.
Nothing's changed. That's still the same for me.
And I'll agree with that, but I mean, I'm saying even longer than that. I mean, do you think that they will push it as far as it can go, like until the bitter end because of the pricing difference?
I think it'll depend on what that Switch Lite's going to be.
Yeah. I listen, here's the deal.
Switch
I will not
Switch
be
2
shocked.
Lite. Yes.
I will not be shocked when we say the Nintendo OG is celebrating 10 years. It'll definitely make it 10 years.
Yeah.
They've already shown games into 2026 that they're doing.
It's got 20 months to go.
They're not going to. Like it'll be like one of the longest running consoles ever for sure.
Right.
So Yeah.
And
Again,
I completely. So Jesse,
the
Tim,
rival
any?
to that is probably the PS2, which
Yep.
again,
Yeah, well,
160
yeah,
million.
it stuck around forever. Tim, Jesse, anything like you want to point out any highlights after sitting with this for about a week and going, okay, now I understand this better, or now I like this better, or now I don't like this better?
Go ahead, Jesse.
I'm ultimately unchanged from last week. I came out of last week with I understand the hardware price. I'm still confused about the software pricing, and it's just something I'm going to have to accept. I can't change things there. Uh, and really, there are very few pieces of software that I saw that I'm interested in. Again,
Hmm.
if I was, I would have already bought them on the PlayStation, and I
Okay.
didn't. So just being because it's on the Switch doesn't necessarily going to change my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
I would
me,
go ahead. Sorry, Tim. I apologize.
it's okay. I was just gonna say for me, it was more of just like you, Jesse. It was kind of like it didn't change my mind about getting one. And actually, I was fine with the prices of the games because it just was like, oh, we're gonna go back to when I was a kid, and they were charging those different fluctuating prices.
Yeah.
Um, so it was like, okay, we're going back to there, and it made sense to me.
Yeah, and
But
a lot of that back in those days where they could have extra chips inside or extra memory inside or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
That boosted
And this is just more
the
probably more
price.
development time or, however much more
Yeah,
content they're going to put in there. Um, but yeah, I still don't agree with the tour game being charged. I still don't agree with that. But now I'm on the fence though about um whether or not in this generation I am going to go all digital or get any physical games.
Mm.
I here's something that and I want to sit in that pocket for a second there, Tim. I thought that was really interesting. Was that the digital version of Mario Kart 8 is costing less than $30. Now, again, if you're a consumer, and here's the statement, right? And I sort of talked about this when we did the predictions episode a while ago, right? If you're a consumer who's going in like I'm buying a Nintendo Switch and now I've got this one that's actually like I'm gonna buy, we're probably gonna buy that game anyways.
Yeah.
So you sort of get this discounted price. How do you start to really start thinking about like, is it interesting like more digital? And I was actually thinking about this during this last week of the tariff conversations, right? Like could Nintendo actually really push a much more digital agenda, especially in their Switch 2? I would be interested in seeing like the data for Switch 2 digital versus like Switch 1 digital. In like Switch 1 we know is at 50%. I wonder if like Switch 2 you see like
I
70,
think it's going to
75%.
start strong in digital.
That would be really interesting just to understand that, and because we do have a bit bigger hardware or software or memory,
Oh,
right?
I wonder how they'll classify Game Key games. It's a physical card that you still have to download.
Yeah, I know, right? Like that's the one question I have. But like, so Tim, you're thinking you might go more digital, hey?
Yeah, especially with the introduction of the virtual game card. The whole reason why I got started off with getting physical was for my family to be able to share those game cards. It eventually grew into a collection of Switch games, but especially with the special editions and stuff like that. But this time around, because if there's a game I want to share, I can do it virtually. I don't have to have a physical card to give to my son who wants to try out a game.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
for me that fit. Go ahead, Jesse.
yeah. No, I've been digital since the Wii U era, so this is nothing new to me. I'm just going to continue. I still was hoping they would have more options for the external storage. Right now, the seems like the most reasonable purchase is a 256 gig, which is only doubling the total storage. So I'm still kind of holding off on waiting until someone puts out a 1 terabyte or 1.5 or a 2 terabyte. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be $300 or $400, but at least I don't have to buy this again for another 4 or 5 years.
Right.
It'll take a while to
Yeah,
fill that up.
that's kind of what I've been looking at. Like I could get a 1 terabyte card, and that's going to be half of what's in my Switch right now. Or I can get a 512 and it's a little more cheap, and then eventually upgrade to a 2 terabyte when they get there, and I will have saved a few dollars doing it that way. And I think that's probably what I think that the thing that made a lot of people negative about this was that when you really started digging underneath the like presentation was the sticker shock of everything, right? It wasn't just one thing that was quote unquote too expensive. It was here's the system price. Whoa, that's more than we thought. Here's Mario Kart World's price. Whoa, that's way up. Here's the dock price. Whoa, that's what here's Joy-Con price. Here's this, and it's all like $10, $20 more expensive. But you're going to need a new memory card. Everybody's going to need a new micro SD card. Oh, holy cow, they're more expensive too. So it's and even I saw an article this week that said you can use your old HDMI cord with the Nintendo Switch 2, but it's not going to operate at full capacity. So you actually have to have the new HDMI cord that comes with Nintendo Switch.
Right.
So just
so
to counter
so if your TV is only 1080p, your old HDMI cord is perfectly
That's
fine
true.
because you'll
That's
never
true.
get that 4K because your system can't
That's
afford
right.
it. But yeah,
I
you
just
will
wanna go-
need the higher capacity HDMI.
I want to go back
quality.
to Justin's comment about, it's like it's all the things that we were asking Nintendo to do, but we don't want to pay for it. And that is, I think that is our culture to a T in North America. It's right. Like we want the best, but we also want it to be as cheap as possible. But then if it's cheap as possible and it breaks really easy, we also want to be able to complain and get a free one.
No,
Or send
well,
it back.
I want to say this on that comment real quick is that in our community, maybe outside in the other areas they were talking, maybe had that mentality. In our community, we talked about what we wanted in that Pro Switch when back in the day when we were talking about we wish
Yeah.
the Pro Switch would come out. We were like, we'd be happy to pay more. So in this community, we talked about paying more for what we wanted. So I can't imagine it was just inside our little community talking about paying more. But I do understand the mentality of, yes, everybody's like, oh, we got to pay more. But I think it is that adding up mentality that all of these things are
Sure.
going to be
That's
more.
that's I think that's the point. It's like like a
Yes.
snowball rolling downhill.
Yes.
Yeah, here's the thing that sort of reminds me though of, and I recently did this. I recently went out and bought a new cell phone in December. So there was an upfront cost with my new phone, and then there was the new screen protector I had to get with my phone, and there was a new case I got with my phone. All those things add up, right? So the bill's a little bit higher. The reality is, though, now I have this phone for the next 5 to 6 years, and that cost is done. The upfront cost hurts for sure. It does. There's no doubt about it. But if you look about no doubt about it, eh? But if you look at it, right? Switch One. Listen, I'm still rocking my OG Switch from 2017. It's 8 years old, right? So value costs that I have got out of it, out of all those months, yeah, upfront it definitely takes a little bit of a kick to the nuts. But after that, once you've sort of like sat in with it, you're okay. Here's my statement is very simply this. What Nintendo has presented me, I don't like having to pay more money. I understand why I have to pay more money.
Yeah.
I'm happy with what they're showing me and offering me at this point. Still questioning about the mouse thing. That's my own thing, but we'll see when I get my hands on it. I'm not making a decision until I actually touch and know, right? Like, but right now that to me
fair.
just does that to me seems a little bit weird, but
Sure.
talk to me after PAX. Maybe I'll have a bit different opinion because I think it's going to be there.
Oh, you're definitely you're going to get to play it at PAX.
So, but I know that my journey for the next several years will be really enjoyable from what Nintendo has shown me in a very snippet. Listen, Split Fiction coming out, I'm getting that on day and date. Cyberpunk, yeah, I got that on Stadia and I wanted to play it, and it didn't run great on Stadia. And Stadia, it just didn't work. And I'm excited to play that. Final Fantasy VII, yeah, please. Star Wars Outlaws, that looks really cool, right? Hades 2, Deltarune, right? Like all of these, like, and Mario Kart World, and we haven't talked about Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, there's tons of stuff out there.
We are, in Metroid 4, we be eaten, and all these upgrades that are coming out. And so, like, yeah, it sucks. But guess what? In 1 year from now, this isn't the conversation we're having anymore.
Right. So let's do a quick flyover of some things that have happened since this presentation occurred and actually are in play and effective right now, as well as some other just little points of game news. Number one, I think the biggest thing that we should talk about from here is the fact that North America and or the US and Canada are
We
still waiting
are
on
North
pre-orders.
America.
Well, I know. I'm specifying. North America is still waiting on pre-orders. We were surprised last Friday, beginning to hear April 4th that Nintendo would postpone those pre-orders in light of the tariffs that were announced. This basically the same day the Switch was announced. But though April 9th has come and gone, those pre-orders are still on the horizon with not really any indication other than some assorted news and rumors or rumors and innuendo about when that might happen. The big rumor that's circulating about this is that apparently there's going to be some meeting at Nintendo or by Nintendo on Friday, which that would be the 11th of April, to discuss the impact. And this is, I mean, it's a developing situation with the, and we're not going to get political about it at all, but with the pause of the tariffs and having a 90-day window, with also the news that Nintendo is shipping as many of these things into the United States as possible right
They're
now.
already on North American shores.
Some,
Doug Bowser has
but more are
confirmed
coming.
that some of them are already on shores and
Yes.
basically in warehouses.
Yes.
So I'll break it. And listen, I know I ranted for like 40 minutes. All right. So let me break it down.
No, it's okay.
Relatively quickly here. This was the absolute worst timing for Nintendo. This sucked to start off with. You had an exciting launch of a console. Yes, people kind of bit the bullet about the pricing. Sure, we're ready to go. People have got their credit cards. We're waiting for pre-opens. Then all of a sudden, the tariff rulings come in. Literally, I think like hours after they have announced this thing. So Nintendo is in a hot button issue spot. They don't know what to do. They pull back the pre-orders in the U.S. Canada was only actually announced that our pre-orders were pulled back. I think it was like on Monday afternoon because I was like. Or maybe even been Tuesday, if I'm quite honest, because I was like, I'm getting ready to go to Best Buy. I was ready. Not a shock. And I think here's what we're going to anticipate. Now, remember, these communications have to happen. Nintendo has to communicate with all their big box store partners to understand, and they all have to get an agreement. They have to communicate that effectively. All of those organizations have to update their websites, have to update their social media accounts to roll out a communication so that everybody is acutely aware of when the day is going to be available to pre-order. So here is likely what you're going to see. Next week, you are going to see a message from Nintendo, GameStop, Best Buy, whoever, that will say something along the lines of, next week on the 23rd of April, pre-orders will be available. They're going to give you time. Like those of people who are like refreshing pages be like, oh, they're going to open it. They're not doing that. They are going to openly communicate because they have to communicate with their brick and mortar partners to know exactly what those days are. And the brick and mortar partners want to do their best to make sure that they are prepared for the influx of pre-orders that they have coming in. So you're going to see a comms from Nintendo or brick and mortars, Best Buy, Walmart, blah, 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 that next Wednesday, pre-orders are going to be available. Sign up for your latest communication. That's how it's going to work. Questions? Also,
no, I like that.
Prove me wrong because Justin's batting pretty well here. I'm willing to bet you that's exactly what's going to happen.
That seems pretty likely. I mean, they're going to want to have pre-orders going in major retailers by the end of this month.
Yep.
However, the other likely scenario is perhaps that pre-orders don't go live until May 8th, which is a set date that Nintendo has already announced that codes will begin to go out for Nintendo Switch Online members who registered to buy the system through the Nintendo Store. These will go out in waves. We've already seen them do this in the UK with people, sharing screenshots of being able to get it and everything. But I don't think that this is one of those situations where you have to say, well, it's not going to go on pre-order over here, and you've got to go stand in line for it June 5th. And you get no chance to to know that you've got the console.
Yeah, it is interesting, right? Like, what was I going to say there? I completely lost my train of thought. But it is critical for Nintendo to be aware of what those pre-orders are actually really important for Nintendo. right? They want to make sure they have enough stock and hardware available for it. And so that's why the pre-orders are actually valuable. They can actually say, yeah, we're anticipating 200, or we are not allocated properly. We need to reship some over, right? We need to reallocate.
Yeah.
So that is really, really critical. I find it a little bit interesting that like the brick and mortars were going before Nintendo's online system. Like literally, I was like, I'm probably going to pre-order a game GameStop. I'm probably going to pre-order at Best Buy. I'm probably going to pre-order at Walmart, which I don't shop at, but I'll do it anyways. And I already submitted my interest with Nintendo Online. There are 4 different ways that I can pre-order. Why? Because I don't trust any of you.
Hmm.
Right? I don't trust
GameStop is
any.
probably the one that I trust least
Yeah,
because
GameStop is actually my
you don't
4th
know when they're
tier
going to
trust on this one.
shutter a store.
Yeah, I'll give GameStop $5. I'll give everyone else, a 10 or 20 to hold that reservation, whatever that number
$5
is. Go
because
ahead, Tim.
here when I pre-ordered Switch years ago, it was $100.
Oh, really? Tim?
So here's what I'm worried about. You guys are saying that, there's all these things going on. One of the things I'm worried about is because of the potential of upping the price or whatever Nintendo might do with the tariffs, non-tariffs, fluctuation of the economy, whatever is going to happen. I'm afraid for me to be able to get one. I'm actually happy for Nintendo because this would trigger me. You guys were talking about this is a bad time for Nintendo. This actually might be a good time that I'm thinking could be because everybody's going to want one before they think the prices are going up.
Could be.
Whether or not they actually will or not, it doesn't matter. People are going to be scared and want to get one before they think they can't
Yep.
get one.
Supply and demand equals capitalism, ladies and gentlemen. This has been your economy class with Justin.
Well, yeah, I think it'll be a bad look if they raise the price after they've started selling. So I think if they will raise the price, they will do it for everybody before June.
The
that's
more
what I'm
likely
saying. It's
scenario,
it's not what we actually think we know. It's what people are going to think. They are going to think, or they're going to be scared that could happen.
It's almost false scarcity is what it does.
yes,
right?
that's 100%. And then what I've seen is the more likely scenario is that as these tariffs take effect, that Nintendo will raise the price over a 2-year period. That it won't initially be this, but it will creep up until it gets to the point where it's like, oh yeah, it's $540 USD for the base model, that's scary when you think about the cost of that. But I mean, like everybody's focused on the the system. They're not thinking about. I saw a report today. The 2 cases that were shown, like the small case and the all-in-one case, and other accessories are all made where? In China. Guess what guess the percentage tariff that China has on it right now? 125%. So take whatever you were going to pay for that and double it and then some. And unless something happens. And that's just where we are. So
here's one other thing. I know we want to say way off. One of the interesting things about Nintendo versus Xbox and Sony, or for PlayStation, Nintendo makes money on their hardware. The other ones traditionally take a loss on their hardware, understanding that they're going to make it up in software sales, right? And so Nintendo has priced this out exactly. Now, one of the things that we may see, here's the like wild card scenario. Wild card scenario is that this is the first time in a while that Nintendo actually takes a loss on hardware, and they are making it up for software sales because they've increased those prices. And so that could be an interesting scenario what they would do, because if they do jack the price, I've made a couple of scenarios. One, they jack the price and say, but by the way, here's your Nintendo Switch 2 tour for free. But by the way, don't worry, the rest of the console costs $100, but you're welcome for the tenner. So I think they may do that, which I think is a horrible play. Or the other play is, listen, we know we can't push this any further from our research and our P&Ls and what we're looking at. We're going to take a loss on the hardware, which is the first time I think ever that they would have done that, like from an actual like deliberate perspective, and then make it back on software to ensure that they're staying at a price that is actually affordable and allows for people to actually purchase it.
So by the way, which one of us is taking the hit on that one? Who's doing the welcome tour video and playthrough?
Oh, I I already said I'd do that. That's fine.
By the way, if you're out there and you're listening and you haven't heard, Nintendo did confirm this week, since the direct, that will be $9.99.
Listen, I am sure that I am happily going to pick that tour thing up. Like, not happily, I'm picking it up. But the reason being is that I am sure it's fun, full of like lots of little fun Nintendo magic. They do those things well, right? And like when you build your Nintendo Lego sets, they have those little like, oh, that's cool. Oh, I didn't see that. Like it's going to be
Yep,
those moments. I'm not going to go
for
back and
sure.
like openly play it, probably other
Oh
than
no, no,
finish
this
the
will be a
tutorial.
one-time thing, and I'll probably never
Yeah,
touch it again. Just,
Yeah,
just
but
like snipper clips and 1-2
100%.
switch.
So, speaking of games, let's do a quick little flyover here about Nintendo Switch 2 edition games and game share as we kind of close this segment out. There's been some conflicting reports about Nintendo Switch 2 edition games that have, quite frankly, been ridiculously hard to dig up concrete info about this week. Nintendo, again, the messaging here was not great. Some journalists are saying that the games will contain a Nintendo Switch edition cart with a code to redeem the Nintendo Switch 2 enhancements. And then others are saying that the games will be contained within one Nintendo Switch 2 game cart. This may be a difference in region to region because we've also seen reports and pictures that are out there of the Mario Kart World bundle in some regions containing an actual game cart instead of the download code that we're getting here in North America. Probably won't know till the games are released, but there was an article earlier today from Vooks.net. That's VOOKS.net that states that the game will be complete on a Nintendo Switch 2 game cart without a download code, and Nintendo went on to confirm that. Nintendo's site says it's only available for select games, and contents and enhancements of the upgrade pack vary by game, quote unquote. Some publishers may release Switch 2 edition games as download codes and physical packaging with no game card. The features and content of a Nintendo Switch 2 edition game can only be played on a Nintendo Switch 2, which makes me mindful too of it is appearing for the Breath of the Wild Switch 2 edition game cart that it includes the original game and the Switch 2 edition upgrade with no DLC for $80. Which again, we just had a discussion about value, but I will say only comment I'm going to make on that is Nintendo, that is certainly a choice to not release 8-year-old DLC with your Breath of the Wild game. I don't get that. But anyway, we'll see more. Hopefully they will confirm some more about this. I think that's one of the things that I've seen the most of that's been frustrating about the Switch 2 Direct or reveal, whatever you want to call it, is that they gave us like here's some concrete information, but then we're going to go here and we're going to introduce this new thing and it's going to be really vague. And you'll figure it out when you have one. That kind of thing. Like game share. One of the things
Yeah,
sorry about that.
yeah. Last week I suggested game share would be more like DS download play, that where like the main system would give a key to the other systems to download a segment off the shop and then they can play like
Right.
local ahead, not Ethernet. Apparently, that's not what this is. It's going to be more like what the Wii U did. So
Which is what?
The Nintendo Switch 2 running the shared game will render the second, third, and/or fourth screens itself and broadcast the audio and video data to the other devices, like
Wow.
the Wii U sending the data to a Wii U gamepad.
So we know for sure it's a beefier machine because for it to be able to do that and run it in a halfway decent manner, it has to be able to have the power.
Yeah, so
I've got the power.
which it's got, because I kind of said something similar to like Wii U possibly being able to do this with 3DS games, because the 3DS is a 240p and the gamepad is a 480p, so you can have four things render and be the same resolution. This is the same thing with 1080 with four 1080p screens versus a 4K display.
Right.
They're the same.
Yeah.
So It's rendering the game 4 times in 4K and just saying, you see this quarter, etc.
Mm, true. It's an interesting thought. I hadn't thought of it that way. A couple of game release updates. These are out now. I think I'm saying this right. Pilo or is it Pillow or Pilo?
I don't know.
Pilo. How would you pronounce that?
I
I'm
don't
going to say
know.
Pillow. Pillow and the Holobook. Came out today. This is on Switch eShop, $5.99 USD until the 1st of May. It's an exploration-based adventure game set in a colorful galaxy where you guide Pillow, who is an apprentice explorer, on a journey to document the universe's wonders and solve mysteries. Also out right now on this Switch eShop for $34.99 USD is Star Overdrive. We're going to have first looks for both of these. I'll talk a little bit more about Star Overdrive later on in the show when we talk about what we've been playing. But it is the only way I know to describe this is Breath of the Wild in space. Yep, I'm serious. We'll talk about more toward the end of the show. Also out soon, things we think you should keep your eye on. Monument Valley and Monument Valley 2 are out on April 15th. Skies Above is out on April 17th. We've got a Let's Play about that coming out soon. Rusty Rabbit, April 17th. Tempopo on April 17th. I feel like I'm reading Pokemon names.
That's what I
Lunar
thought too.
Remastered Collection is out on April 18th, and MotoGP 25 out on April 30th. And then on further down the line, High on Life, Capcom Fighting Collection 2, Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, Monster Train 2, and Legend of Zelda movie 2027. So
Yeah,
don't forget.
they announced the movie release date in the Nintendo Today app.
They did, which was interesting. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. You just type in Nintendo Dads over there on YouTube. It's got first looks on a lot of these new releases, as well as other videos that were literally, when things are releasing at a good clip, there's something up there every day, pretty much. So, just so you guys know, here at the end of this news segment, one of the things we're going to be doing in the next few weeks as we lead up to the release of Switch 2 is we're going to be compiling our list of the top 10 must-play games for Nintendo Switch 1. So be on the lookout for that in the coming weeks here on the show. Just want to make you mindful of that. If you'd like to make your own top 10 list for the lifetime of the console, we love to see those as well. So, we got an ad this week, Justin?
We do not, other
We do
than
not.
patreon.com/Nintendo Dads.
Yep,
You should
absolutely.
go
So, let's talk about what we've been playing then.
Do it.
All right, Jesse, we're heading your way first.
Okay, I started playing Suikoden. That was my airport game. Didn't get very far in it because I couldn't figure out how to save. I don't know if there's any way. I got about an hour into the game, found a place where I can save, and then played about another half an hour and soft locked myself. I was somehow in a vendor merchant shop, and I could buy things, but I could not back out, so I couldn't leave. So I was kind of frustrated, so I had to reboot and go back to that one safe spot I had at the hour point. So lost a half an hour there. So played and was able to get past that point. I got to maybe another hour or an hour and a half in, and still could not find any other ways to save, and died. And like, I'm not doing this again. So if it was something I obviously missed, let me know. But yeah, that was kind of a disappointment. Yeah, I did like the they called it HD, but they still use pixel art, which was a weird decision. But I still liked the pixel art; it looked nice. But I just don't know why they would call it HD. Anyway, so that was kind of disappointing for me. Then the other game is a game that came out today called All In Abyss Judge the Fake.
Ooh, I've been wondering about this one.
Yeah, so this is kind of
Poker, right?
Yes.
yeah, it's a
Jesse,
visual novel.
did I give you the code for that?
Yes.
No, I bought that.
Oh.
Okay, Tim, good news. We might have a code for that coming soon, so don't buy it. I did
Okay.
request it for Jesse.
Yeah, I saw it on in a separate email outside of our Nintendo Dad's email, and I'm like, ooh, that looks interesting, and for relatively cheap. What was it, $15? I don't remember. So yeah, I picked it up. So yeah, it's kind of like a visual novel slash poker game. Which that sounds like Dance of Cards, right? I'm like, okay, this one. So far, the poker seems to be better poker, where Dance of Cards was, not real poker. It was a lot of setup. You're gonna definitely lose hands you're supposed to lose, and but but this you you have skills that that you're able to use
You have
to
a set
help.
of skills.
Yeah, and you're able to earn more. I think you're limited to, I think, 5 active initially, but as the more you play, you're able to unlock additional skills simultaneously, and you're able to unlock a large list of skills. So the one you have at first is, I don't remember the name of it, but it basically prevents your opponent from folding. And then you have your other one is a passive one that you get a little descriptor of a hint of what your opponent might have in their hand. Like they might say, this person has a pair in their whole cards. This person has 2 consecutive cards. This person has at least 1 card greater than yours. Things like that. So give you hints to try to deduce what they might have. So if you get, and the other thing it does is as the pot gets raised, a multiplier increases. So, like, say I bet 10,000, the opponent calls 10,000, but the multiplier is 5, and if I go to showdown and win, I'll actually get 50,000, or at least they lose 50,000. They may not get all of the 50,000, but they'll lose that much. So, like, found the best way to attack is, and then the more you bet, the more you raise, the higher that that multiplier will get. So if you get a hand you think you're going to win, trigger your skill to prevent him from folding, and then you go all in. That multiplier is up to like 40-45 times right now, and so they can't fold, they have to call, and then you're all in, so no more betting. The rest of the cards are dealt, and you have a straight, you win. You have a pair of aces, you win, or whatever. And then because of that multiplier being so high, whatever else they have, it's just all going to get hit, and you're going to basically win the match. So I'm liking kind of that little strategy play. Uh, it's a chapter-based game. I'm still in chapter 1. I don't know how long the game will be. There's a lot of kind of fetch questy stuff going on. During the visual novel part, you have multiple locations around the city. You're able to stop and interact with merchants, homeless people, whatever, bartenders. So so again, I like Dance of Cards, but even though it wasn't a good poker game, this so far is a better poker game. If you want a poker game that's got a story. So I would, again, I think it was only $15, so it's relatively inexpensive. So it definitely something to look into if you
Nice.
like poker.
Cool. Tim, what about you?
I've I finished playing or finished the 100%ing each of the timelines for the Jeff Winter story. Llamasoft is another one of those what is it? Digital. I can never get there. I always forget that second part of their name. Digital something.
Oops.
Eclipse. Yeah, yeah, thank you. Digital Eclipse. Another one of their documentary
Or Digital
docu
Foundry,
enter
one of the two.
right. One of the docu entertainment type games. So I realized when I looked at it on my Switch, I was like, oh, I need to finish those timelines on there. So I learned something about Jeff Winter. He's the one who helped create the Tempest game for the Jaguar, and of course a bunch of other games before that for Atari and the different computer systems and all that fun stuff back in the classic days. Uh, there. So I also have been playing Skies Above, which comes out on the 17th. I can talk about it today, thankfully. Uh, I'll be doing a video of that shortly as well because we had an embargo where I couldn't do the video until today. But so it won't be a first look because I've already been playing it. It'll be a let's play, just kind of going over what I've learned about the game and sharing with you all, whoever's interested in wanting to know about this game. But this game, Skies Above, is about. I thought it was going to be like a roguelite game, but they call it an fast action game or something like that. It has kind of like a roguelike like feel to it. But essentially you are a rider who is helping to free a Leviathan from Earth or the
Ah,
planet.
that old chestnut. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard
that
that
just
story
yes,
far
for
too
sure.
many times.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Leviathans that had been set free. A lot of robots, a robot type invasion of this planet has taken over the planet, and it's not letting the Leviathans go, or they were trying to kill the Leviathans or try to take their energy. And there's one Leviathan left that you're trying to free, and you are fighting these robot orbs that are trying to keep the Leviathan down. And it's actually really fast action paced where you are basically um you got to jump and dart through all of these orbs off the back of the Leviathan, giant Leviathan that's flying high up into the sky to try to leave the planet. And you are trying to connect to all of these different orbs to kill it in the most combo way possible. And you are basically going to fail because you have to come back down to back to the starting point, which is like this floating island in the sky where you are collecting some of these crystals to help create runes that help you get a little higher up in the sky. And you keep going, you keep trying, and you keep coming back down, getting more runes and having to go back up. But each time you go, you get a little bit further, you see new things, you unlock more of the story. But it's always fast paced. And so far I'm liking it. But again, it doesn't seem like at first, like I saw it when I first watched the video on Skies Above, it felt like it was roguelike. But again, I'm not sure because it feels like it is because of course you keep trying to make a run, but it's like the reason why I don't feel like it's a roguelike is because you are coming back on purpose, it feels like. You know you're not going to make it. You're just trying to go through each iteration to gain more crystals so that you can get more runes to make your Leviathan more powerful and yourself more powerful to try to keep going higher. So maybe it is roguelike, I don't know, but they don't even call that out on their page either. They just call it like a fast action game. What do they say? Fast-paced, action-packed pixel art game where you have to help a Leviathan to reach space by defending it from an endless robot army. So it just says fast-paced. Doesn't say anything about roguelike or roguelite, but I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna do a video on it, so you guys will get to see that. I wish there was a demo, but maybe it's a short game, so maybe that's why it's not a demo. It is actually $7.99 in the eShop too, by the way. And the other game I am playing also is Star Overdrive, but I'll let Marty talk about that one.
Woo, okay. Yeah, so I'll just jump right in here and talk about that. So we got a code for this today, and it's one that I had seen on a Nintendo Direct. I think it was one of the indie showcases. And kind of had my eye on. I thought at the time, oh, that looks interesting, mainly because they've managed to really do some really techno wizardry with the Switch and make this game look really beautiful. And I think probably part of that has to do with the amount of things that are moving on the screen. Like the planet you're on is pretty desolate. And so there are enemies that you encounter, but they're kind of few and far between, at least in the part I'm in. So the storyline is you're on this ship, and the character you're playing, his name is Bios, and he's kind of like a Star-Lord-ish type character. He's floating around in space, listening to some rock music, and he gets a distress call from a girl named Noose, who apparently is either his girlfriend or wife or something. And she's been sent down to this planet to kind of like survey it. You don't really know why, but he goes to rescue her, and as he gets close, the ship crashes, and he recovers his weapon, which is a keytar. So it's very 80s esque influenced. And then there's a point early on in that story where he kind of gets rescued by Noose's hoverboard. So it's like this surfboard slash, you know, snowboard type thing that you use to like surf across the sand. And so I'm not calling it Epona, but it's Epona. All right. So just at the very beginning, I will say it's very, very inspired by Breath of the Wild. It has to be, because in the beginning, there's a tower, and you go to the tower, and the tower shows you where these three things are that you have to like power back on to get the tower to work. And they're dungeons. Basically, you go and you make sure they're powered on, and then you go down into the depths. They're called mines. And when you're down there, you're actually getting powers, just like at the beginning of Breath of the Wild. But the gameplay is smooth. Music is really cool. It's a really fresh concept. So, like, if you've ever thought about what would Zelda be like in like a space setting or discovering a vast empty planet setting, this is for you. Okay.
Zelda meets No Man's Sky.
It is. It really is. I mean, I don't know that I don't think there's planetary exploration because the map on this game is massive. It's huge, but it only appears huge because like you could traverse the section I'm in like 3 minutes on the hoverboard. So it's almost like Tony Hawk meets 1080 snowboarding meets Breath of the Wild. And so yeah, there's upgrades you can get by collecting stuff, and I still don't really understand that. They haven't really made it all that clear what you're doing. Um, but I just made it to right before we came on air. I made it to the third. I don't want to call them shrines. The third mine, because it has a barrier of water that you have to get to, and you have to kind of launch yourself over there. And that's another thing too, is that like there's a trick mechanic to this, like when you jump coming off a ramp in the sand, and then you can use the right stick to do tricks, and that boosts you and helps you go farther faster. So it's been pretty cool. I'm actually really liking it. So I'll do a first look for that this weekend. So watch for that if you're interested. And then I Jesse and I have been kind of messaging back and forth a little bit, because I finally, as I said on maybe last week's show or week before last, I booted up Dragon Quest III HD2D Remake for the
Yay.
first time since purchasing it. I put about 2 hours into it, and I like it. It's good. I have some questions. Mainly, why is it so freaking slow? Everything is slow. Battles are slow. Talking to people is slow. Moving around on the map is slow. I get it. Like I know this was an NES game back in the day. They wanted to make you take some more time up. I looked it up on how to beat. It says it's going to take me 32 hours to complete the game. And probably most of that is sitting and waiting for battles to finish after you input your one command.
I don't remember my time through, but I think it was at least 40 for mine.
Yeah. Also, I did the first kind of, I guess, dungeon, Jesse, is I've done up through the Dreamer's Tower. Are all of them that sprawling and backtracky?
Some yes, some no. Not
Because,
all of
like,
them.
there's some context clues, like, oh, I should probably go do this one. And like, this is the very first dungeon of the game, and there's multiple exits to each floor. And it's like, oh, if this is, I'm going to be in here forever. And I was. I mean, I was in that. The one dungeon has got 3 floors, and I was in it for 45 minutes because I was waiting to fight battles. So I guess I need to go in the menu and speed that up probably and probably fix the problem myself. But
Yeah, I think the first thing I did is increase the text speed to
I
fastest.
I do think that for me, this is a JRPG that's my speed. Like I like it. I had to ask Jesse a couple things like, oh, are any of like I've got a full party at the start of the game. Are any of them going to leave? He was like, nope. It's like right on. That's good. Do I have to make any
Yeah, I
choices?
said
That I'm,
I said I think I answered it is that's up to you. You can if you never can have to swap them out if you don't want to. If you do, you can.
yeah,
That's just go
I
back to Patty's
did.
place and do what you want.
I did make one decision that I don't know if it's going to benefit me or not in the long run, and that is I found a book in a bookcase, and I changed my main character's personality to like Beefhead or something like that. Like
Yeah, those will
it's
basically affect your stat increases and level ups.
yeah. And then I found another one later, and it didn't really. I did read a guide on it. I was like, I don't know what that
Yeah,
means.
there's like 3 dozen different books.
Yeah, I didn't know what the term meant, and so I was like, I'm going to look that up, and then it was like, no, you don't really need to do that, so I didn't. But yeah, this is one I'm gonna. I'm glad I have it portable, so I can take it with me and play a little bit here and there. But I've kind of gotten back into playing RPGs, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm
So
looking
that's what we've
forward to
been
one and
playing.
two to
Well,
come out.
sorry, I almost skipped Justin. Justin, have you been playing anything?
Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I'm
Yeah,
30 hours into it and I am at level 50 on all of my characters. I am
cool.
plugging away with it. My objective is to finish some of my backlog before the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out.
Same here.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is one of them I want to finish. Tim, I did want to ask you, have you played any Xenoblade Chronicles X yet?
I did the first look. I played like about 45 minutes of it, and yeah, I liked it, but I definitely did not want to jump into that after just finishing Xenoblade
Yeah, I think that
Chronicles
was a
3.
bit of a challenge for us, eh?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like I thought maybe, I wanted to finish 3 before it came out because I thought maybe, but yeah, I'm still trying to finish these other games I have.
That's fair enough.
Good deal. Well, guys, let's turn on the community spotlight.
Do we?
All right, it's our favorite part, right? The community spotlight where we get to talk about our community and some of the things we're doing for the community and those who stop by too in this in our chat. Like we've got a bunch of people who stop by, like Victaris, GX, Darth Platypus, Beer Cerveza, just being Bruce. I think Mecha Dragon was in here earlier. Sean was in here, Sean Capri. Some new people like Leighton was in here. So shout out to everybody who stopped by. Thank you so much for coming in. And always stopping in and checking in us. Like Nimfrendo too. That's right. I saw him in here. So don't forget about our giveaway that we mentioned at the top of the hour, and we'll be reminding you all the way up through till May. Giveaway is for Patreon members. We'll give one game per Thursday away in May. For Mario Kart World is what we're gonna give away. So
Mario Kart World.
Mario Kart World. All right.
Super.
And then we are also going to be at PAX East. So that's it coming up fast in May, and we're looking forward to that. We're excited and can't wait to see what's going to be there. We're already starting to see some emails from publishers and developers that are going to be there.
Yeah, and I want to say if you're going, right? Like even if you're a casual fan, you're not in our Discord community, please drop us a note, let us know. We would love to connect with you. We'd love to see you spend some time together, hang out where we can. Yeah, we're just excited. So, and we're going to be doing a ton of content that week leading up to us going down there, our travels down, being in person together, doing the show live, Jesse, Tim, and I, what we're seeing on the floor, hands-on impressions with games, events out with either the three of us or fans or whatever we can. Lots of content will be coming out over that time. So we hopefully enjoy it. Keep your eyes tuned for it. And if you're in the area or going, please legitimately let us know. We'd love to see you. And if you see us, stop us and be like, hey, I know you.
Right. And if you're in our Discord, or if you're not yet in there, again, it's just $1 to get into the Patreon, and make sure when you get into Patreon that you go into the connections area and connect your Discord if you're using Discord, so that you can utilize that benefit and get into our Discord and let us know in the PAX East channel that you're going. All right. We have a lot of questions we have to catch up on, especially we got a lot of questions before last week's direct, and now through this week, we got a lot of questions to get through. So Quagmire asks, first, will virtual game cards from a Nintendo family group count?
I'm not sure what he means by that. Count towards what?
Virtual game cards from a family group.
So virtual game cards are supposed to work with, you're supposed to have NSO, right? So to be able to utilize that feature.
If I remember right, you're able to pick one other system that you can share your library with that's outside of your family group. I think that's still really your account on that second Switch, and then there's no time limit on that. It's just I move the game over there, and that's it. And then you can share one game per person in your family group for up to 2 weeks. While they have it, you can't play it. But then after 2 weeks, it'll automatically be returned to you, or I presume you can ask for it to be pulled back, or they can kick it back. We don't know that yet, and that feature's supposed to be live by the end of this month.
Yes.
So we'll know more then.
Yep.
I'm sure we'll have a how-to video out there somewhere about it too, so in our channels. Next question from Quagmire is also, how do we feel about the $79.99 for Mario Kart? Seems like Nintendo is quite confident and borderline arrogant to me. I think we talked a little bit about that at the beginning, but do you agree with that assessment? Confident and borderline arrogant for charging $79.99?
I think we covered that already.
Yeah, I don't think I could say arrogant.
Yeah. Confident, yes.
Confident. I think here's the thing I would say. If there is any company, game publisher, who is intrinsically aware of their IP and their brand and will not reduce prices to diminish it, it is Nintendo, right? They do not reduce their first party games. They believe in the value of their brand. They believe if they discount or lower the price of their games system, it depreciates the value of their larger brand. And that is not something that they want to do. And they've had success financially over the last several years in monetizing that brand in a way that is continued to just sort of compound and to support that behavior. Mario Kart or Mario the movie, the Universal, like it is becoming an entertainment property and brand. They
Ubisoft
are not
says
going.
hi.
Yeah, Ubisoft's like,
Right.
We've been out for a week, slash us by 30, 75%. Like that ain't gonna happen. So
Right.
I think Nintendo is very aware of their brand and they stick by their numbers, and that will not budge. We can all be upset about it. We can all be angry about it. It ain't going to budge.
Right.
And it's your decision as a consumer if you decide to pay that or not. Totally your decision. Ultimately, again, folks, it's business. That's how it works. It's capitalism, it's stockholders, it's all that part of it. They don't care about your nostalgia
Right.
for them. They are a business. They have employees. They have deadlines. They have KPIs. They have all the things they have to meet, including shareholder prices, return of investments, paying people. That's how it works. If you don't like it, don't purchase it.
Yep. The other thing too that I would like to add to that is the fact that I haven't been disappointed by Nintendo's Mario Karts yet. Even the ones that may be lower on the totem pole. It's kind of like the Zelda games. Like they're all good. Some are going to be better than others on that list, but they're all good. And that's the way I feel about Mario Karts. I have not been disappointed. So that's why when I said $80, yeah, was that a shock? Yes, it was. But I'm ready to pay for it because of my experiences with past Mario Karts were all positive. So, and I've gotten my money's worth, let's say, out of it at those times. And we're still got more to learn about the game when this direct comes up. All right, so we got another question from Beer Cerveza looking for advice. What is the best strategy to pre-order the Switch 2?
Wait.
Wait until it's available in your country.
I would say the best strategy is probably to sit outside your local Best Buy, Walmart, or wherever brick and mortar that you'd like to do starting now and
Yeah,
just live there for the
just
next 2 weeks,
There's
if
a guy doing
possible.
that.
I know it's sort of where I'm actually going with this. Yeah, there's a guy in New York who's currently doing that. Don't know. I don't know if
and
I
the
would.
I thought there
Nintendo
was a
store?
guy. There's a
Yeah,
guy. There's a guy at the San Diego store that isn't even opened yet.
yeah, and I'd say beer, like my statement earlier was like they're gonna tell us next week when it's gonna be. It'll be the week after. Or I would say, Walmart and Best Buy probably have like a sign up to get notified um thing. Do that just to be notified and make your decisions from there. So
Right.
yeah.
Yes. All right. Great question. Ebicel asks, which feature do you most like for the Zelda Notes app?
Ooh. For me, I think it's what you're looking for is below you, or what you're looking for is above you. Because I know a lot of times when I would like the blip of the shrine would be going crazy and I could not find it. And I would just teleport away.
And then the cave entrance is a kilometer east.
Yep.
So the voice navigation?
I like the voice navigation.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say so too. From what I've seen, right? That seems pretty solid.
Yeah, the voice navigation with the map on your phone is it's pretty dope. All right. Next question is from Darth Platypus. If the Breath of the Wild Switch 2 edition contains the DLC, will it be updated to get a Switch 2 shirt instead of the Switch shirt?
I
I don't
doubt
No,
it.
think we've got that answer. There's
they
no
will not go and
DLC.
do that. No.
What Nintendo Switch game would you pick to have a Switch 2 edition, and what upgrades and changes would you like?
Oh.
Hmm.
Ooh.
I
But
would really love to see um God, I don't know. Man.
but for the Picross games, have online multiplayer instead of local only.
Okay.
For me, it would be Animal Crossing. The Switch edition would utilize more of that four-player um, game chat stuff and allow you to have more multiplayer games in that.
I love that, Tim. I love the idea of like them doing like an
Hmm.
HD upscaled Animal Crossing. And by the way, here's like for a $20 DLC pack, something that brings you back in
Yes.
that they could really like kind of
A city.
use for the next several like years until they get ready for the big launch. Yeah, like a good boost in the arm to Animal Crossing would
Yeah.
just be that's such a good call, Tim. That's a great call.
So I I'd love to see a Switch 2 edition of Smash that adds in another five fighter DLC pack.
Nice.
Oh
Yes.
boy.
All right. I like that one. I got one more. Mario Odyssey,
New Kingdom.
upscale resed, New Kingdom, and it's Delfino Plaza.
I think they've already confirmed though that that one's just getting upscale and
I know, but I'm just saying, let's
HQ.
just do
But
more.
yeah,
Let's
that
do
would be
better.
great. I would love that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Good stuff.
Yes. All right. Solo ask, curious, with the new screen on the Switch 2, would it have been more fun if instead of them saying 7.9 inches, they would have just said only 1/8 of an inch smaller than the PS Portal screen, comparing it to the Portal in size?
They're never gonna directly compare against another
It
company.
would be funny, but
It
they
would
will
be
never do
fun.
it.
It would have been quite interesting. It would be interesting to see if any of these companies just started just calling out other things. I mean, they did it kind of at E3 stuff, but yeah, commercials, no, they didn't do that too much. Hoots asks some napkin math for you with two questions baked in. To keep the math simple, looking at $300 for the OG Switch versus $450 for the Switch 2, Nintendo only needs to sell 2/3 of the units to make the same amount money back. Do you think the new cost of the Switch prices out 33% of the potential consumers?
So that math equation would indicate that your costing is the same as the original OG Switch. Let's just be clear on that, right? Your cost for your console is higher currently, right? So just a quick little like caveat there is that the math doesn't quite quick napkin math work on that one. Um, do I believe that the new cost will benefit out the 33%? Not right away. I think over time it might, but not right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a higher premium product in a time right now where there, especially in the U.S., in North America, Canada, there is a level of insecurity and well, I shouldn't just say North America, but the economics is not as stable, right? We've talked about recessions, we've talked about disposable incomes. This is a hard sell. This is a very hard sell right now when in the U.S. price of eggs or whatever it is, right? This is a hard sell, and so. It's going to be challenging. They're not. It's not going to be a out the door, blockbuster crazy numbers that I think you originally see. I think this is going to be a bit of a slower burn to eventually get to the numbers. I don't think it will pass Switch One, probably.
Gotcha.
At all, ever?
I don't think at all ever. I think the Switch One was like lightning in a bottle.
Mm.
I think
We're
there was a
going to
lot of
see,
things like a pandemic that really helped that.
or are we going to see a Switch 2 ambassador program?
Possibility, possibility.
Yeah, so all right, the next part of that question is likewise $60 versus $80 for Mario Kart. They'll need to sell 3/4 of the software to match gross profits. Conveniently, there are probably four dads on the show who have probably been super excited about the next Mario Kart. Sorry, Jesse. After the price reveal,
Fair,
have
fair.
after the price reveal, have 1/4 of you had second thoughts of picking this game up on day one?
I haven't had any second thoughts on it. I think this is sort of intrinsically tied to the last question, which is like, will it make up the value of the costing? Probably not. Again, software has to drive hardware,
And
right?
I
So
and sorry, go ahead.
if you only have so again let's think this idea out. If you have 10,000 Switch 2s or 2 million Switch 2s out in the wild, we know right now the attachment rate's about 50%, which means you have 1 million Nintendo or Mario Kart World games out there. Even at a what $20 differential, you're not making up that difference in cost at that point. So I don't think so. This will be day
And
one, and we're streaming all day.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah,
all four of us mentioned that we were going to buy the bundle by saving money.
yeah. I was going to say, for the record, I do plan on buying the $500 bundle
Yeah.
just because
Yeah.
it's going to be a game. Someone's
Yep.
going to make me buy it anyway. I might as well save $30 up front.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Great questions. Blaze did Justin ever get the Prince of Persia Lost Crown DLC? Is it recommended?
I did, and yes, it is. So if you like Prince of Persia, it is more Prince of Persia. It's actually a bit more challenging, I find. Story is quite involved and quite good. So like, definitely recommend picking up the DLC. Yeah, 100% recommend it. I love Prince Persia. I love Prince Persia DLC. It was great. So do it.
Some Mecha Dragon asks, what color on a current console do you like the best, and what color would you like to see on any console? For example, I love the teal color on the old Game Boy Color consoles, and I would love to see more silver-looking consoles.
I really want, like, it's not a current console, so I don't like it. I mean, current consoles are so bland. You've got like white or black, right? Pretty much gray. Um, I really would love Nintendo to go back to like some of the finishes that they had back in the day on consoles. One of my favorite colors of a gaming system of all time was the Game Boy Advance SP, the like purplish blue metallic version that came out when they first launched that. They had the gray, or they had, or like grayish silver, and they had the bluish purple Game Boy Advance SP. That's the one I went for. My other answer would be everything in clear plastic, like
Yeah, that was
the
my answer.
N64. You know, so sorry to steal your answer, Jesse.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, the very '90s answer is, all that transparent stuff.
Hmm.
But in terms of current consoles, I kind of don't care because it's most of them are behind, tucked away, out of sight anyway. So doesn't really matter what they look like.
I would sort of agree that I do like some of the, like, I know PlayStation 5 you can buy new panels for it. Like I do like that way to like sort of like express it a little bit differently, have it pop. And I would even argue with the Switch, different Joy Cons definitely has a bit of a adding a different personality or different look to it, which I think is kind of cool. But you're very right, Marty. Like nowadays the consoles are like black or white. Like literally, like that's the thing. Now this Switch 2 looks like it's a grayish black. I don't know exactly, right? But it's very kind of Apple. It's very clean coloring. But I would agree with like Jesse and Marty. I was a kid of the 80s, but like my formative video game years were the 90s, and of course it was the Nintendo 64 in those translucent like greens and orange colors that you would like for the controllers and the consoles, purples, right? Like it was very much that. I never had a special color console. The only special color console I actually have is my Nintendo Switch Lite, which is blue, because that was one of the three options, and it was actually the one that Nintendo sent us. It just happened to be blue. But like I know like some of those old translucent neon colored Game Boys and stuff like that. Those look great.
For me, it would be the Metroid
Oh,
3DS, the new 3DS. If they could make the new Switch with these colors, the Switch 2, I would take that. Or even if it is Joy-Cons on the current Switch with the Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, uh, these colors, or the Metroid 4 Beyond, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond colors, then I would take that. So
yeah.
give me Metroid, more colors.
Tim, did you see the mock-up that they did for like a Metroid Switch
I
2
did see
version?
that one,
Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was legit for a second. I was like, "Oh, that's amazing!" And then it's
I
like,
yeah. If I knew for sure that they were going to come out with a Metroid Prime Switch 2,
yeah,
I would I would wait. I would not have a Switch 2 in June.
it's fair.
I think. Maybe I wouldn't be able to stand it and just still get it and trade it in or something. But yeah, great question, Mecca. That I always like talking about colors and stuff. Next question is from KoopaKid80. Given some of the negative reception on the Switch 2 console and game prices, pre-order availability, game key confusion, and overall marketing lack of clear messaging, If you were placed in charge of Nintendo, how would you fix and correct some of these issues? If we ran
Mm.
Nintendo.
That's an interesting concept.
I think
Sean's
that
still
that
here. Hopefully, he won't charge me for saying that.
I mentioned this earlier that it was like they gave information about some things and then left off key details, or they were very vague about some things. I think the 1-2 punch that they could have done to be more clear would have been to say, here's a feature. Please go to blank website to learn more. But even when you did that, it's still not clear there. So, like, their messaging on some things has been very confusing. And so, I once heard someone say that the content of your message does not matter unless the people that you're speaking to uh, have a sense of clarity from you. And I think that Nintendo needed to hear that message before they did this. It's almost like they would try to jump the gun on some things, and then have to. I'm not saying they're going to walk anything back. It's just that more details available on Nintendo.com would have been great, and then actually have them there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're redirecting to, and you're seeing a lot of like the firefighting now, right? I think it's when misinformation is put out that it becomes really challenging that you have to make some clarity on, and so I think to Marty's point, like a website getting them on front of it as quickly as possible is probably a good idea.
Yeah, I'd like to see like more clarity on what the Switch 2 enhanced games or edition games are. If it is different by region, say so. So instead of us just having to figure it out or get, on launch day. And I still think, going NVMe versus micro SD Express would have been a better way to go, but of course, they may not have been able to get the console as thin as the original Switch. If they did it that way, it might have to be a little bit thicker, and they may have they have the reasons why they didn't want to do that.
You're on mute, Tim.
Thanks. There's a lot of times when they're promoting a new game where they give a lot of information, right? And a lot of people choose to either stay away from it because they don't want to know that much information, or there's people that choose to, they want to know everything about it. I am surprised they didn't have a steady stream of information from the time they gave us that first video up until the direct, giving however they wanted to convey it over time, parts of it to build up. Here's another video, or here's another thing that they talked about, or something they show more details on April 2nd. More details coming April 2nd, where they would have the direct and the website to go into more details of everything they've already built up from that point on, instead of just that one video, complete silence, and then April 2nd. That's where I would have I would have said, let's do this over time and kind of build up that excitement to April 2nd. So,
100%.
all right. That was another great question, of course, from Koopa Kid. Let me go to one of the blog's questions, because he had 3 over the past couple weeks here. So, aside from Mario Kart World, what game do you think you will be playing on launch day? On launch day.
I say Split Fiction and Cyberpunk.
Fortnite.
Fortnite.
I mean, probably.
Fortnite.
Deltarune, though probably the PC version. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to go through the list.
Yeah, so I was trying to
Nothing else
pull
is
up.
really jumping out at me.
Yeah, there's so many games that I would love. It's probably going to be Mario Kart World. But he said, oh, I'm sorry. He said, and then besides that, right?
Right. Oh yeah, and
Aside from that,
I'll probably be playing Wind Waker as well.
Oh yeah.
Wind Waker. So here's the thing. There are a lot of things on here that I probably will be playing or want to play. Um, from a third party perspective, probably Cyberpunk 2077. Um, probably that Welcome Tour. I'll probably be messing around with that. But I might, since I didn't finish it, and even though I watched the ending of it, I might jump into Tears of the Kingdom, Switch 2
Nice.
edition, and play around with that and just kind of take my time with it, kind of like I did with Breath of the Wild. I might play it for the next 4 years.
Yeah,
So
I still have no plans on replaying either of those Zelda games. They
that's you, yeah. I beat Breath of the Wild and have no plans to jump into that as well. But I don't know, that might change. Right now, I did not beat Tears of the Kingdom, and I feel, hey, actually, after seeing that, I might actually get
Yeah,
in there and play it.
I may do the same. I
So,
mean, it's going to be free
right? Yeah.
for us.
Yes. Second question from John is which one of your children are you selling so you can afford the new increased Twitch game prices?
Well, and that's a good question to segue into something. Uh I have now entered a new era of dadhood as of this week. My son turned 18 years old on
Woo!
Wednesday.
Congratulations.
And so that's a whole new thing as we're looking at him graduating from high school next year. And,
Yep.
so we still have a year of him, doing the same routine, but we're already, talking about what decisions we need to make for next year and all kinds of things like that. So, yeah, that's kind of weird. So I can't sell
You
him
can't
because
sell
he's
any of them.
technically not a child.
Okay.
But technically, we don't need to probably be talking about selling children on a public podcast about fatherhood.
But
But yeah,
we can talk about making them work, and
yeah, I'll
you
I'll
know,
make
no.
the son work to buy me my Switch too.
There we go.
There you go. I don't have to buy his this time. That's what he's told me. He said I've got it.
Nice.
So there you go.
Yeah, that's the one thing I didn't even think about until like literally 5 minutes ago is, I bought my own, Matthew bought his own, Switch on day one, but my daughters weren't able to buy their own, and I eventually gifted them either for birthdays or for Christmas. So eventually everyone had
Mm,
one. $300 is a pretty, still a decent gifting price. I don't know if I can gift a 450.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're on their own.
Yep. That's a discussion I've been having with Sam. This is like, if you're wanting this, you're gonna have to save your pennies and do some work.
Again,
So,
yeah, he's already planning on buying his own, and I'm going to buy my own, obviously. So,
yep.
we're still going to have two of them around in the house, but no, I don't
My
think I can buy any more than that.
my two older children, they already, well, my oldest, I haven't had a chance to ask her if she's getting one. My middle daughter, I think she's got a job and she would be able to buy it herself if she wants one. Sammy's still the one that doesn't have a job yet, so we told him there's jobs he could do around the house or for his grandpa, earn some money that way. But
Yep.
yeah. Um, so yeah,
Tell
as
him he
far as
needs to get out there
myself,
and get a job.
yeah, for sure. All right, next question I'm going to take from the chat. Polar Knights asks, as a barber, I love this show. It is every stage of beard growth. That is fantastic. I like that.
Yeah, I saw
We
that. I'm like, I
love
have to put that in notes.
we love all dads from pre-beard to long-term growth.
Yes. Jesse's got the longest out of all of us, I think, the longest beard. All right. And Beer Cerveza asks, if prices are adjusted to reflect tariffs, what is your top end price point?
Dude.
I don't know. As we said earlier, it's different for every family. Like, if someone who only makes 30,000 a year would definitely have a hard time paying the 450 is definitely or higher. Someone in my area is probably literally has no limit. It's a piece of hardware I want, and I will pay whatever MSRP it is. I'm not going to go scalper money, but don't do that. But if they say, okay, this is 600, I'm still paying it. May not like it, but I'll still pay it.
I'm paying 600 already.
Well, if I'm paying 600, you're
As
paying
a matter of
800.
fact, I'm paying
Oh.
700 already.
Yeah.
Well, Jesse just said, I think scalper prices are probably where I draw the line. If I can't get it for retail price, then I'll wait until I can.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm like Jesse. I don't know if there's a cap on this one. Surely there is. There'd be a point my wife would be like, "Are you crazy?" Yeah, I don't know. Again, for a piece of technology that I have used for 8 years, and the amount of fun that we've had with it, with my just collective family, and traveled all over the world with it, and done tons with it, like, I pay less than that for an iPhone, and I cycle that out every couple of years. So
And this is a technology thing. I've said this before. I love mobile technology. If I have to sell some of the things I've collected to get it, I will still get it.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with it. Because again,
I have a
I'm
left kidney that works great. So if
yeah,
anyone's interested, just DM me.
I'll sell my locks for my beard.
Are Canadian kidneys different than
Yeah, a couple things. They
U.S.
don't nearly
kidneys?
have as much trans fat, I would say. They smell
full of
like
maple syrup.
syrup, and they are definitely much cleaner.
Smell like maple syrup. They process maple syrup better.
The problem is, though, when they come across your border, they definitely cost 25% more.
Oh yeah, unfortunately. And they
All right.
say
You're welcome.
Last question from the chat side is from James Adam, I think, who was over on YouTube. Hopefully he's still there and can see or hear our answers. Are any of you guys looking forward to getting back into Tears of the Kingdom, since it will be the enhanced version in 4K on the Nintendo Switch 2? I know Tim and Marty kind of fell off of it. Well, I think we just answered that question.
Yeah, and I'd say me too. Like I didn't get nearly as far enough. There's so much more to uncover, so I'm excited to go back to the world for sure. I'd even
I'm
argue with
sorry,
Breath of
there's
the Wild too, to kind of go back.
yeah, in both of those games, there's places in those games I want to see again. There's moments in that game that I want to see what it looks like, with updated resolution
Yeah.
and stuff.
Breath of
So
the
yeah.
Wild, I'd jump right into where I saved it. I won't start a new game. I'll go back to where I saved it and see how, maybe complete some of the side quests I didn't complete. Maybe I'll do that. Right
Yeah.
now, I prefer Breath of the Wild over Tears of the Kingdom, but again, I didn't play enough of Tears of the Kingdom. So, to, if I beat Tears of the Kingdom, then I'll be able to say whether or not I guess I prefer one over the other.
Yeah,
So,
as I
but
said before, if it wasn't for the ending, Tears of the Kingdom would not have been a top 5 game that year for me.
Okay.
So I can
Fair,
see why you
fair.
say you like Breath more than Tears.
And I
Yeah.
know we're about to segue into like the last question, and I just something just like
There's three, but two
two
more.
more questions burned into my
Yeah.
brain that I want to ask. I know we're talking about like the top 10 games for Switch. Can I propose we change that to the top 25 games for the Nintendo Switch?
I had a hard
Because
Why
I think
time
the
not?
coming
top
up with my
five,
10.
I think the top 5 or top 10 will fill so easily that I think that there's a little bit more breadth that we're able to actually like have deeper conversations about games that would not traditionally be on the list. Can I
Yeah.
recommend we say top 25?
Why not?
Okay.
Love
Jesse's
it.
like, I've just got my 10 done, you bastard.
What about top 33? 33 is a great number.
33, I like that.
Well, I mean, Jesse's top 10 was Picross, Picross 2, Picross 3, Picross 4, Picross 5, so on and so on.
All right. I think it's a great idea. Top 25. And I think I should have wrote it down. There was another idea I had too in regards to that, picking that, but we'll figure that out. David Balika also asked, given Doug Bowser's response. No, that was the one he asked already, isn't it? I asked. That's the
No, would you not
No,
say
no.
question?
Given Doug Bowser's response, if you can't afford a Switch 2, you can play a Switch 1. How do you think this affects families and children that simply cannot afford the plus $500 price of the console, game, memory card. Do you think a budget Switch Lite will be released, or is Nintendo losing the budget family-friendly persona it has built since the 80s? Is that a mistake?
I think what Doug Bowser's indicating here is, and I know it comes off as sort of a really ignorant statement, but I think what he's actually communicating is we are not stopping the Switch One. We're not stopping that level of support, and you don't have to move over right now. There is a lot of content available for families. We have built a strong rock bed on family friendly content, and having a library that's there that will still be there for you. And the Switch 2, when you are ready for it, will be there for you too. And all those games that you have will be available for you. So we are not stopping that level of support, I think, is sort of the approach there. Will there be a budget version? The Switch 1 will have to be fully dead, basically. And then you'd look at like a budget, like a Switch 2 Junior, or whatever you want to call it.
Yep. I think we got to keep in mind this is going to be in phases for Switch 2, and this phase is courting that generation we were talking about, who's got the disposable income, and nostalgia for GameCube and all that kind of stuff. And of course, courting everybody, a section of that 150 million people of Switch owners who want to move up to the next Switch.
Yeah, I mean similar to like the 3DS. Like when the 3DS and Switch transitioned, it wasn't like just a dead stop,
Yeah,
right? There is a long tail of transition that occurs there, and there's a like they openly want to support that 150 million install base they have, plus grow a different install
right.
base. So they
And
are
this one's
acutely
even
aware.
better because we have backwards compatibility where we didn't have that with the 3DS
Yeah. So I mean,
or Wii U.
I really do think like right now this is aimed at a very targeted group, very
Yes.
small group.
Yeah, that
And that
first phase is going to be there,
it's
and
the
then
early
eventually,
it's the early adopters, right? And they're going to help
yes,
sing those praises. But I mean, I think you see, things like the fact that Pokemon ZA is on both systems, Metroid is on both systems. The actual like exclusives right now are real thin,
yep.
right? It's
Tamagotchi Life will be on Switch 1 and 2.
Switch One,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, the exclusives are just Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza right now. Even Hades 2, which is now is coming to both platforms.
Yep.
But again, when you have an install base of 155 million, yeah, put it on every console,
Right. Yep.
right? So why would you not? And so this is how they're going to try and slowly move that audience. And they're going to make it like it's sort of like you're upgrading from the latest iPhone to the different iPhone. That's sort of the idea behind it, right?
Or
All your things work.
Nintendofying what PlayStation did between the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5.
Correct.
So yeah, there's they're going to be done in phases. They're still going to support Switch 1. We'll still have things to play.
Yeah.
Until there's that thing that entices you to, I have to go get a Switch 2.
Something will eventually entice you,
Yes.
right, to make that decision.
The next question, the last question from John is I am happily buying the Switch 2 because it's what I asked for, an expensive but high-powered Switch.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm also disappointed in Nintendo's nickel and diming. Games are so high in price, and Switch Tour is not being a pack-in for an easy win by Japan's richest company. One thing I'd have liked to see is the option to just have upgraded Zelda and Kirby visuals without having to commit to an upgrade price for an extra content I don't really want. Also, having to buy newer and pricier SD cards doesn't seem necessary, but overall, I think the system looks powerful and the games look incredible, so I'll get over it. Just let me pre-order.
I can
Yeah, that is
understand
a
why they don't want the older SD cards used because they're just so slow. You know, we see the loading times on the Switch One on some games, and that's that wouldn't work if you're trying to load 50 gigs into RAM.
Does
It would take.
does anybody know if the Express is comparable to the M2 speed?
I think I think NVMe is still faster.
Okay.
But like they can go into like 1.5 or 2 gigabits a second, where these are 850 to 900 megabits a second. So it's up there. It's not
Yeah.
quite to NVMe speed, but it's still a vast improvement over normal micro SD cards that are like
Okay.
100 megabit.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I think I covered all the written questions. I think the last question is from Christian. Voicemail.
Oh, that's me.
Hey, Nintendo Dads, it's me, Christian. I just wanted to let you guys know that I just finished watching the Direct, and what in the world what timeline am I in? This is the best Nintendo Direct I've ever seen in my entire life. Zelda, Donkey Kong, Mario, and then all those third parties? Woohoo! I'm so excited. All right, guys, talk to you later. We'll see you.
I'm disappointed, Christian. You did not mention Metroid. I am very disappointed in you.
I would really love to have him send the voicemail in with his thoughts now.
Yeah, after everything's come out.
We'll see if that's the same attitude that he has.
Because he did send that almost a week ago. Probably
Yeah.
would have been in time for last week's show, but I wasn't home last week. So he got it played today.
Yep. Well, listen, buddy, if you're happy, we're happy. There you go. Well, guys, thanks for hanging with us for episode 523 of Nintendo Dads. And before we go, yes, we are looking forward to Switch 2, even if we just sound a little grumpy about it. Know that. Justin's a little more optimistic than the rest of us, even though he's having to pay a butt ton more for it. But hey, hopefully we'll see pre-orders in the next week and we'll get to lock those down. As we finish out the show, we want to say a huge thanks to our Patreon producers, Dave Ernsberger and Jacqueline Amira, for backing us at the $30 level, as well as our other 100 plus patrons. You guys keep the lights on over here at Nintendo Dads HQ, and we're super thankful for you, including our 21 Twitch Prime subscribers over and getting close to 1,500 Twitch followers. And guys, we are so close to 8,000 on YouTube. So if you're not already following us there, go over there and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, all the notifications and bells and whistles and all that. Be sure that you're locked in to get all of our content, and huge thanks to everybody. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And so if you're, even if you're just a local, or a weekly audio listener, we really, really appreciate you so much. Head over and check out our website, nintendodads.org, for a list of all of our family of podcasts and podcasts we recommend, like Star Wars Dads, Mega Dads, Dad Crossing, and Retro Logic and their family of podcasts, our latest YouTube videos and tweets, links to all our social media, Patreon and Extra Life pages, and Nintendo Dads merch. And look, don't forget to check out our sponsor, even though we didn't get to mention them on the show this week, manscaped.com. You can head over and get 20% off your order and free shipping with the code NINDADS. That's NINDADS. Email us at nintendodads@gmail.com, or you can call in and leave a voicemail, just like Christian did, at 929-25-NDADS. That's 929-256-3237. Big thanks to OC Remix for the music we use throughout the show. And wherever you download us in your podcatcher of choice, please leave us a 5-star review and a comment. We would love to hear from you. But also, all that helps push us up the rankings and helps people find the show and all that great stuff. For me, for Justin, for Jesse, for Tim, and Zombified Hamburglar, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Nintendo Dads.
You gotta get your together. You know what I'm saying?
Do you smell something